Welcome to another episode of The Practical Metaphysical Journey, the place where practical meets the paranormal, the mundane meets the metaphysical, and the spiritual meets the spooky. A place where we share the experiences of our journeys here on Earth. We encourage you to listen and see what resonates, because we're all different yet the same. We invite you to take a break with us, so unpack and stay a while. We're glad you stopped by for a visit. And now, part 2 of Do Ghosts Only Come Out at Night?
Have you ever gotten information that you did not give someone because of that?
Yeah, I think I have. Nothing like that. Mm-hmm. Nothing about when they're going to die or something. But I think in one case there was information that was a little too graphic about what had happened to this person and experiences that I did not feel comfortable relaying to them of a really deeply personal nature and abuse and things like that. That I didn't need that information to validate. There had been many other points to validate what we were speaking of, and that person knew who I was talking about and knew that they were getting these message, and the message was not going to be helpful. Yeah. And it was so deeply personal that I almost felt it was at a level, because, I think sometimes too, the spirits and entities, this was not such a great entity. And I think that they felt that this was a way of making me uncomfortable. It was not a useful message that needed to be portrayed.
Gotcha. So even in spirit, they were still very much the negative aspect of their personality they were in life.
That was still a part of it. Yeah.
Wow.
I do think that there are the negative energies as well as the more benign ones, and again that becomes part of my boundary thing with the negative thing. It's just kind of being able to suss that out and sense it, and I'm not there to be made uncomfortable. You don't get to play with me that way. So
Yeah, there was a time, there's been a couple of times where somebody's coming through and the person on the receiving end doesn't want to hear it. You guys have seen it.
Yeah.
There is somebody specifically that I'm thinking of that as soon as I started to talk about it, that person shut down. It's like, nope. They're open to the idea. They believe in this going on, but for whatever reason, that person coming through, there's unresolved issues, and it's just, nope. Don't want to hear, shut down. And there was another case where I was doing a reading, and the messaging coming through did start to get very personal, and that person, just because of the emotions, started to shut down. So I was like, okay, stop that line of messages, because it's not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, I think
they're just not there.
That as important as it is sometimes to get these messages, because if we're going to be letting these entities speak through us, then we owe them a little certain of a thing. But then again, they also, just like a real person, they don't have the right to carry forth something that's going to harm somebody else.
Right.
My mind. That's how I see it, and I justify it. And I'm like, whoa, just because I said I'd talk to you doesn't mean you get to talk a lot of crap. Or, what is the end game? And again, if I'm communicating with them myself, I may be giving someone the message, but I can also speak to that end to say, okay, really, what's the reason behind this? And I will have that flicker of a moment, and whether it comes to me as a feeling where it's like, no, just because you want to be right on the other side, or you have whatever is attached here, or you want to frighten somebody, or maybe if you don't have the best energy, you don't still get to continue that forward with this person. I'm going to use your messages to help heal that person. We're going to take it from a neutral point and come at them from a loving aspect. We're not going to berate anybody or anything like that.
A question that I have, because it's happened to me with every reading that I have done, there always seems to be a little bit of a message there for me too.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think part of why that's happening is the people that end up coming to me. There's a connection there. There's a reason why they come to me. And it's because there's also something there that I need to hear or to learn. So have you?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, because with one particular person I was doing a spontaneous reading for, just because I was talking to this person who's a friend. I'm giving this spontaneous reading. I did not want to give a message from this person that I knew had been horrible to my friend for their entire life. I'm like, absolutely not. I'm glad you're gone for that person. Now they can move on with their life. But in the course of this reading, messages came through, and it even pinpointed something as serious as a soul contract and why they were the way that they had been. And it wasn't a justification or like, oh yeah, well, you made me do it. You know, it was, I could see the bargain, I could see the contract, and I could explain a little bit about it, but it was more a message for me and how that worked than it was for the person I was reading for, because honestly, the person I was already reading for knew it. Said, oh, we came into this lifetime to work each other's nerves in this way. And whereas I'm sitting here in a place of judgment for this entity and saying, no, maybe I don't want to talk to you. You're a jerk. And it's like, okay. And I'm, oh, all right, I get it. All right.
And Lisa, kind of the same question is, I know you don't do the mediumship or read that, but you do energy work and work with people. So do you find that too, as the clients come in, there's something there that for you as well?
Absolutely. And sometimes it's happening in the moment, and sometimes it's a reflection later. It'll come to me, like I'll be reflecting, oh, okay, that ties that together. Okay. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I really think it's a fascinating thing, and I think it just shows how we're all still connected across the different forms of energies. And that's why I like my ghosts so much. Plus, sometimes you just get a good story from them. Sometimes there's interesting stuff. So,
yeah. Like I love, because you guys know I love the big picture. So when you guys are talking, I'm seeing like how just like the end of the conversations today, but just how everything is interconnected, and how we are. We just think we're sitting here in the mass of whatever, but there's so much connection actually that's going on.
So Lisa, because you don't necessarily, that it's not your bent that you're into, how do you set up your boundaries so that this just isn't a part of your field that you take part in?
So I will tell you that I am not a medium, so I'm not going to talk to somebody's relatives. I work more with the elementals and the entities in my energy work. So I feel like that's just my thing. So I have cleared a lot of negative energies, exorcisms, if you want to call them that, or something like that. I work more with that realm. I don't know how to elaborate on that. I'm just going to tell you like that, unless you have another question. But for me, that is where I find my experiences are happening that way. And I didn't go looking for that, but through the energy work, it presents in a session, and I'm just like, oh, here we go. Here we go. So my boundary system, though, is I do have a routine that I do before I go into session, that I feel like I am secure in it, and I'm securing my client within that bubble, or whatever you want to call that. I'm just call it my sacred space.
Right.
I do create that before I go into that with the client.
How do you set up your boundaries, David?
Well, like I was saying before, I look at spirits, so the humans that are now in like the consciousness, treat them like I would somebody who's here physically. So I'll talk to anybody. You can come by. We can say hello, that type of thing. But like my house, this is my space. You don't come in unless I'm inviting you in. So just like I would set boundaries with physical. people, I'm thinking that way with the spirits as well, and setting that up. If I'm doing a reading, I have kind of a little routine. I do it first and also at the end to kind of close things out. But in that case, and it's set up, the boundaries are only, the good can come through that has a useful message that this person needs to hear. And I do have guides that I work with on the other side, and we kind of know how each other work, so they can help be like the gatekeepers on that other side in letting somebody through. But it's you can treat them. And just like there are some physical people that you have to get tough with because they are crossing the boundaries or they're not paying attention, that's when, you have to use some other measures. But for the most part, spirits that I've dealt with respect that limit. I do have family members that come through, and there's been times with some of them I just have to say, not right now. Or like this, I'm home, this is my night to just kind of relax or whatever, please, not now. And generally they respect that and go off.
So something just popped into my mind. I did have a reading on a psychic radio show. I booked myself on one night. And so this what I was bringing up about was, do you guys smell things? So you're hearing things and you're like, are you getting sensations in your body anytime, or is it only really just like which clair is coming through to be used when you do a mediumship? And I'll tell you my story if you want to hear it, but I just want to know, like, do you smell smells that help with the readings, or is it only just like the words that are coming through?
The only time I smell things is if it's somebody unpleasant coming through.
Really?
Yeah. Or if I get that more from more of an elemental base than I do from a person. I don't get a lot of real, sometimes, and the only smells that I do seem to pick up are like cigarette or cigar smells. I don't smoke perfumes or things like that, but if somebody was a smoker, I tend to pick that smell up. But not normally, no. But if I'm dealing with something that's not a entity that was a person or an animal, then I get smells.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, rarely do I smell anything. Yeah. There's been occasions where I'll smell like cigarette smoke or cigar or something like that. But that's generally not how I perceive.
Okay.
I see, sometimes I hear, I don't smell. Feelings in my body, well, let me change that answer. I used to. But once I learned to set the boundaries, I stopped it.
That was going to be my next question, was like, is that a boundary that you created?
And I think so, because when I was younger and before I understood this and what was going on, I hated crowds of people. I just could not take crowds of people. There would be times we would be somewhere and I would turn to my wife and just, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. And I can't explain why. It's just, I need to get out. And I think at that time is I was feeling a lot of the energy that was in the room.
Absolutely.
And it's just, and I could get overwhelmed, even if it was a positive energy. But it was just too much.
Too much. Yeah, your nervous system was like.
Yeah, but now that I get that, then I do think I've set up the boundaries of like, no, I'm not taking that on right now. So I do feel better. I can go into crowds now, and I don't have an issue.
Great.
I'll get the warm feeling. I don't get the cold feeling that some people get when they say that a spirit's around, but maybe I just haven't been around that type of spirit. But with me, I'm tough with my boundaries, and I'm like, absolutely not. I tend to be a little on the brattier side of that.
As far as your body's concerned, you're like, don't touch me.
Absolutely not. No, we are not going to go there. And if you're coming in too close to me, I will. And because I've said it before when they were encouraging, I'm like, back up, back up, back up until I feel my energetic field around me is comfortable. And then the other thing that I'll do, because I like to play around with my energetic field, is if I feel that I'm in a space, and I do this in the grocery store or in the line at Walmart or something too, I'll play around with my energy. No, I put spikes on it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I put like the Stegosaurus or Triceratops spikes on me, and it's really funny. Play around with that sometime. Visualize your energy. If someone's up too close to you in the line behind you, I'll put the little spikes and they just go pow, and they pop out of my little energetic field, and you'll actually watch someone take a few steps back behind you. So, and I will do that with the other entities too, because that's just my weird way of playing around with them and saying them, see, I can do things too.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I tend to be real tough with them though, and I'm probably more so than I need to be, because I don't want that encroachment, because I'm honestly not sure what can happen. I don't want to meld energies like that.
Right. Well, for the reading that I was getting, The person said there was someone there with me. They couldn't identify anything else with them, but they said there's a strong sense of the smell of oranges. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I mean, I do live in Florida. It was the only connection I could get. I didn't have any idea. But so my reading ended, and I had told my mom about this. So she was actually, I don't think she was the next one, but I was waiting for her reading to come up, and I was taking notes on my end. And while my mom was having her reading, I'm sitting alone at home. Greg wasn't there. And I'm taking notes from my mom, and all of a sudden it was like somebody cracked open an orange, how you get that citrus smell that comes out of a fresh orange. Yeah. It was so intense. I was like, whoa, what is going on? And it lasted for 3 or 4 or 5 breaths, right? I was like, it was just filling my nostrils. And I thought, okay, I know you're here, but I don't know who it was. Like, if for my mom, it could have been my grandma, like, I'm not really sure at the time. There was no, I just didn't get anything of who it might be. Yeah. But the fact that the psychic prepped me for it, and it happened later. Yeah. But they were getting it in the moment in the same way with them. They're like, I'm not getting any impression of who it is. It's just that smell. And I was like, okay. It was amazing. So there's nothing that could have caused that in my house. It wasn't like the AC was on or anything. Like, there was nothing that could have caused that.
And it just appeared, yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
That's really neat. Yeah. That is really neat.
I think that the lesson, if people do see, spirits or whatever, and they're bothered by that, I think setting the boundaries is the big thing. Just realize, like I said, how I treat them as humans, and just like I don't want somebody taking my space. Set that boundary, set that intention. You have the right to do that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Not only the space, but the timing of it.
Sure.
The day of it. Like, this is my office hours.
Right.
I'll be available for you. I'll, be open to receive, Tuesday from 12 to 2, come on by. But those are when I'll be ready for you. Other than that, stay out of my space.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's okay to redirect them, too. Say, look, this is a big thing. Look, I am not here for you for this. Go talk to David. Go talk to Deb. Don't bother talking to Lisa because she's going to ignore you.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
And and the other thing is too, if you're feeling like you're in that space, reach out to someone. Don't feel like, oh my gosh, no one's going to know me or remember me or anything. They're going to think I'm weird. Sorry about that, guys. I can't help that.
There's an incoming message.
Incoming message.
I'm hearing something.
Yes, I'm sensing.
And it's of course coming in on my watch, which I have no control over. But so yeah, it's one of these things where reach out to somebody. I mean, find a meditation group, find a paranormal group, find a whatever, and do some due diligence here. But somebody always knows somebody who can do similar things that we can do. I'll happily step in and try to help somebody with that information, or let me take the message for you. Make them, don't put up with it. Don't dwell on it. Don't buy into that energy. One of my things that I live by is what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. I do that when I do energy work with Reiki or massage or anything like that. What's mine is mine, what's yours and yours. I'm not going to take on your problems. That's an important part of the reading too, I think. It's like, okay, I will relay your message, but you don't get to hang out with me every day and be my BFF, and I'm not going to translate for you 24/7 and keep bugging other people. But what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. Yeah. So put that out there, and your home is supposed to be your safe place. And if it's not, then reach out to somebody.
Yeah, so on our little notes, one of the questions David put was, should you ask a spirit to come into your house? What would be your answer to that?
No. Are they paying the mortgage? They paying the rent? You cleaning for me? No, unless I see you sweeping the floor or doing my dishes or paying my mortgage. No.
For me, that's part of my routine of getting ready for a reading and then finishing a reading.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So part of the getting ready, because I do have people come to the house, is I set up going and I ask my guides to be there to, again, be the gatekeeper, let people through who are of good intention that this person needs to hear from.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, keep everybody else out. And then when I'm finished, it's thank you for coming by. go, we're done, you're back out. But it's funny, a couple of people that I've done readings for, I don't think this person consciously does it all the time, but they keep inviting the spirit back.
Sure.
So I can help you move that person on.
Right.
But if you don't set your boundaries and set the intention that that person stay moved on, you're just inviting them right back in.
So that was the question that I had earlier, and I just was waiting for a great time to interject that, so this is perfect. So do you feel like the energies that you are speaking with are free to come and go, or are they tethered at this point? Do you get a combination of all of that? And like, if you feel like they are tethered here, do you help them move on? I know that's kind of outside the realm of what we had talked about, but just to throw that in there quick.
That's a really good point, though, too, because I do think that sometimes people, they get stuck. I do feel that. I've seen that. As far as moving them on, sometimes they got free will too, though. But yeah, I think
you give them
it
the
depends.
invitation to, like, you're kind of like, maybe they don't know they can move on.
And it's true, and it depends on, I think, a lot of times too, the circumstances in which they have perished. I think that's a big part of it. They may not realize it may have been a traumatic thing, or I don't know, even maybe an age thing. I don't know. I tend to see a lot. I see more of that stuff than I do people coming through to give me messages. But I don't pursue mediumship quite the same way that you do. So I tend to see, I think, more things that are stuck and or just unaware or fearful of going on. Yeah,
the one time I was at a park, I encountered a female spirit, and she was dressed in older clothing, so I knew. And as I'm communicating with her, I started to realize she's confused. She doesn't realize that, like, her family. She was looking for her family, and that was the confusing part, because she couldn't find them. And something you said, and actually that's the way I approached this. I didn't tell her you have to move on.
Yeah.
I started talking with her and saying, this business is not the right time for you. I said, look around, look at the way we're all dressed. Are we dressed like you? And she started, and I think that started to change her mind, realize that, I'm not in the right place at the moment. And that helped her make the choice.
That's awesome. So almost like that movie, The Sixth Sense.
Yep.
Where he doesn't even know he's the ghost that the kid is seeing. Like, I see dead
spoiler
people.
Alert.
Yeah, sorry guys. Sorry. I'm just saying, that's an old movie. You should know by now.
You should know.
But I see dead people, and then that realization. I've had that too. But I've also had clients where they'll have a loved one. They know it's their loved one, and they are holding them there. I'm like, they can still come and go if you let them move on to, I don't know, call it, to go into the light, whatever you want to call it. But they can still come and see you, but they would not let them go. They were like, nope, I'm not ready. I'm like, and I was like to apologize to the other. I'm like, sorry, they're not going to let you go. Like, so there's a lot of different things going on.
I'll see a lot too. And since I'm now working in an emergency department, where people may die suddenly in that setting, or they come in and they're in a state of confusion. And so my dilemma at that time is, do I explain to that entity that, okay, here's what happened to you, do you need to go? Or is the family member there? What is going on? What business do they need to do? And you know what? That's their business. I try not to get involved in that any more than I would in anyone's real life situation, and say I have, that's one of the places that I have to put up my biggest boundaries, because I could explain to them, hey, this happened to you, and go into the light. Well, this is a traumatic thing that just happened. It's never going to be a easy thing past it, normal circumstances. So that's an important thing to stay away from. But for me, I don't think it does anybody any good. But I think too, if they haven't been acknowledged, like if you see someone, like they said, like in period clothes, maybe nobody's noticed them. Like my husband, they're always in period clothing of some sort. And then they notice him and they're like, oh, somebody can see me. Well, maybe then that would be a good time to, hey, you have an option here.
Right.
Maybe they're just still here, reliving their life, and just not understanding why they can't communicate or whatever it is. But so that's a time that if they're open to it, I'll make that communication with them and just offer to let them know that there's something else on the other side. If they want to go, I don't put a big ritual to it or anything, but it's just like, okay, there's something better out there. Just how do you,
I think there's a natural rhythm to life and death.
Yeah.
And for the most part, it just takes care of itself.
Yeah.
But there are these instances that we're having where you're going to find someone that for some reason got stuck. And for you to cross paths with them at that time, then you can ask some questions and figure out, is there an action step that I need to take with this, or am I just observing it for some reason?
Yeah.
There might not be an action step, but it's not the time for you to intercede. But yeah, just to be conscious that all of that's happening. All of these different scenarios are available and may
why
show
are
up.
they there?
Yeah.
If they're there to be disruptive, I'm going to step in and be a little bit more abrasive with them and try to say, okay, you know what? You got to go. We've been in that situation sometimes at the house clearing, and then that's when I don't mind stepping up and being a little bit more of a
they're
bully.
like, oh, no, I'm fine. You're like, actually, you're not.
No, you don't get to stick around and be abusive.
Yeah.
So that's when I tend to get a little bit tougher with them.
Cool. Which is, we talked about, talking about provoking a spirit. Probably not a good idea. Like a lot of the TV shows in the nighttime, that's kind of what they're doing. Now, I will say again, from my experience with entities, I do like to kind of get them stirred up a little bit first.
Right.
Because they are, for some of my clients, they are inside of my client.
Right.
And they should not be there. And again, they're disembodied. I mean, they are a spirit. And my client, that's their body.
Right.
And they need to claim that back as their body. So sometimes I do find that I provoke the entities, but like you said, I would never provoke a spirit.
You're not trying to do it just to get them a knock on a wall. So you're doing it. It's an actual part of a healing process for that physical being, as well as possibly for that.
And in that case, I would view it as that entity has crossed the boundary of going into that person. And that's not where they should be.
Right.
No.
So, and I'm kind of matching the energy at some level and then moving into the
You're being that conduit. You're also not walking up saying, use my energy. I love when these people say, use my energy to make this flashlight turn on. No, use my energy. My energy's my energy. No. If you can't turn the flashlight on, we'll figure something else out. But, no, you're not using my energy. Nobody has permission to step in. This is my soul space. I picked this body, whatever. But you're using it, you're doing it more as a conduit. And you're not telling them to use your energy. You're saying, okay, again, they're already using somebody else's energy. There's not room for two or more.
Right. And they don't have, whether the person did or didn't give them permission, the person's usually unaware that they left a door or window open for that opportunity to happen. But once they're aware of it in the sense, they're like, oh yeah, no, absolutely they need to go. And they know that's not one of their loved ones per se. It is an entity. It's a different kind of energy we're talking about there. Totally different conversation there. But I love that we're exploring all of that though, because we're just telling people we know these things exist.
Yeah,
some helpful tips.
That's the thing. Not to be scared of it. I mean, it is a scary thing.
It can be.
It can be, but also you don't have to put up with it. Right. And then that turns into a whole nother range of things that turns into not necessarily ghosts, but poltergeists. Right. And who's creating what. And then you're terrorizing yourself with this energy that's been created from a whole nother topic that we can deal with. Again, close the cupboards, shut the drawers, don't need that crap going on in my house.
But and connecting two things, one thing that Deb said, and then Lisa, you recently said, you were saying before, don't be afraid to ask for help. Which absolutely, if you're not sure what's going on, ask for help. And then Lisa, you talking about you get in there and you help get that spirit or whatever removed from that person. I think people then have to remember or realize, I can help you, but after this, it becomes your responsibility.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's part of the session.
Yes, to set up the boundaries
Right.
and enforce those boundaries.
Yeah, self-empowerment of that.
I don't do this to make money.
Right.
So I look at it, it's just a waste of money. If you're going to keep coming to me for readings and asking me the same questions with the same issues every time,
Right.
no.
You have to evolve with it, and
Yes.
and it's like too, when that entity has left that person, there's a vacuum there. So it's don't go back to that. Oh well, the feeling that I'm used to having this bad thing in my life, and letting it go back to that, or welcoming another one in, or something like that. It's just you've got to do the work, and I think that's the important thing too, and being able to show people how to do that.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. It's not just, okay, I'm one and gun. Oh yeah, you have a ghost in your house and he's here because of this and that, and he likes to knock things over. Hey, good luck with that. It's like, okay, what is this person doing to bring this into their life as well? Yeah. So what purpose is it serving for them? Because sometimes it is.
Yeah.
So people would rather be haunted by something than be alone sometimes, I notice. And it's like, all right, but you don't have to be haunted by something bad that's taking away from you so that you're self-punishing. Where is it coming from? And you know what? If it's beyond my scope, I got a number you can call. There's some 800 numbers you can call and talk to somebody at that facility.
Yeah, I think we've covered a lot of what we had down as our notes. I was just looking at the tail end here. We'll just kind of speak them out loud, like we were talking through the whole thing about just, you can be open to receiving the signs. Mm-hmm. You don't necessarily have to go to a medium to get the messages. You yourself could probably receive some things directly if you're comfortable with that, or if you already are, if you're already that person and then you don't know what to do with it. Hopefully this show has given you some good pointers and hearing some other experiences that we've had that will help you navigate that, and you can maybe find a class or some kind of training that you want to take that can help you hone in your skills and hone in on what to do with what you're receiving, and treating them. Oh, go ahead.
For me, though, I think something I think is important for people to think about if they are going to go seek help is I would be cautious if the person that you go to sets it up to make you feel that you have to keep coming back to that person.
Right.
For me, my approach is, as I work with somebody, it's I'll help you and we'll do what we need to do, but then it's your responsibility. You're empowered. You have the right to set the boundaries. And you don't need me to continue on to do that. So that, to me, is just kind of a caution. Yes, if you need help, get help. Just be cautious if the person's setting it up that you've got to see them every month or something like that. Yeah. I would question that.
Right. I do the same way. I think same way with the energy work that I do. I tell people, you'll know. Because another issue may come up for them, right? Like if the first thing they came in for was something physical, and then a few months down the line, something spiritual is going on. Like, yes, there's a reason why you may want to come back for sessions, but not the same thing over and over.
Yep.
I think all three of us are on the same page with that. We are all about evolution of our, development. That's not really the goal of what we would do in a session.
And I think, too, if you're getting messages that are frightening you, if you're getting messages from saying, the big one that comes to mind is, you're cursed. You have a hex on you. Somebody has sent bad energy your way. Okay, if you are having to take too many steps, crack the egg, bury the egg in the yard, do the this and the that, you know what, do your research. We have Google now. If someone starts giving you all these things to do, odds are good that it is a scam. You don't need to go through all these steps. And if someone is telling you that they're the only ones that can do this for you, anyone who's
Yeah.
really trying to help
Red
you
flag.
and give you messages is going to empower you. They are not going to hold the power to be able to release whatever this curse or hex or this entity chasing you around is. No, they're going to give you the tools to maybe find people to assist you in how to do these things. But it's not going to be, oh, come to me and I will lift the evil eye curse. Run. I'd rather live with the curse or the entity or the whatever. Run, because now you've welcomed another type of energy, and that is going to take advantage of you when you're desperate. And if you are desperate, look for other resources. It's just talk to people, because put the intention out there that you're going to find the right person to help you. That energy is going to bring that person to you. And nobody can take that away from you.
Yeah, I guess one of the last things that we had down on the list was thinking how this being able to feel and connect with these other energies connects with quantum entanglement, and maybe we'll save that because I think I do want to do a podcast on quantum physics.
Yeah,
at some
absolutely. You can
point,
explain
because
it
that whole that whole field just fascinates me because as they dive deeper into figuring out what quantum is, it just to me makes sense, and
it's a natural progression of where
right,
we're thinking that needs.
And just relates to all of this, and to me is starting to explain all of that and why that happens.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating and how everything is relative to everything else, and there is so much more, and they're still discovering so much new stuff as far as quantum fields and quantum everything else, and it's a little beyond me right now. I'm trying, but it's a big field to comprehend.
You may not call it quantum. You may have.
To me, it may appear as something else.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like again, the terminology may be different for you,
Yeah.
but I bet I'm 100% positive you understand it because I
Right.
know your experiences. So and what you're capable of. So you may be calling it something different. Don't shut that down. That you're
Right.
just having a different definition for it.
Right.
That's going to be a fascinating show. I'm looking forward to that one. That'll be good. We'll dig into that.
We'll dig into that, and maybe we'll get some guests in here too that are able to explain some things or give some insight too. It's the type of thing you can talk about forever, which is amazing.
That might be multi-episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I'm all for part 1, part 2, whatever, because this is a lot. It's not just a one and done with any of the topics that we're going over. There's so much out there, and everybody's had different experiences, and there's ways of debunking all these things too, and how you feel about that, or how well you believe things. And you don't have to believe in all of this. You don't have to believe in ghosts. That's not the point of what we're doing. But our information may resonate with about entities or spirits, and be something that's of interest. And if it's not, then that's no big deal. But another topic may be wildly fascinating. So I'm sure it will. We have a lot. So
any closing remarks from either one?
As far as me, just sit with your energy, learn about your energy. If there's other energies out there, what makes you comfortable, what makes you uncomfortable, however you feel about ghosts. Enjoy some of the fun of ghost tours and things like that. There's some fascinating history out there that ties in with it. But find other people that to have these conversations with, both ways, whether they believe and whether they don't, because there's always interesting things to take away from it.
For me, I would say if you feel like you are feeling, hearing, smelling, whatever that is for you, and it's overwhelming, to just stay in the question. Just keep asking questions. What is this? What do I need to do with this? What can I perceive from this? How can I learn from this? Mm-hmm. Keep yourself in the question of that, and know that the boundary setting, which we could probably just do a show on boundaries, would probably be good. Just some helpful, practical tips that we have learned that are kind of our standby practices that we do. But just know that you are the physical being. You have all the power. Any disembodied entity or energy, or if you're coming in contact with a person, they really don't have the power. They will try to trick you and think that they do. But you, with the physical body in this realm, are the stronger energy no matter what is happening, poltergeist or not.
Yeah,
they're doing that on the fear factor to scare you, but you are more powerful, and you have the control over making them move away from your, outside of your space, outside of your body. All of that is within your power. So I want to empower people to know.
Yeah,
it can be overwhelming. I'm not discounting that, but there are things you can do.
Yeah. There are people out there to help.
Yeah, and I would say that relates directly to what I was saying before of I treat them as if they're a physical being. And just, I think, what the advice that you just gave as far as, you have the power, they need to respect your space. I think that goes for physical beings as well.
Sure.
That same advice is how you should be going about your everyday life and so forth, of realizing, you need to take care of you. And if somebody's crossing those boundaries, if they're, if that physical person's not respecting you, that needs to stop. And that same with the spirits, I think, as well.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think so. It goes back to my old saying, all that matters is knowing that you matter.
Yeah.
Put your oxygen mask on first, right?
There you go.
Before you go to help anyone else, or whatever that looks
Yeah.
like. But make sure you yourself are taken care of.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah,
team.
we hope you've enjoyed
Yes,
this.
thank
Give us your
you.
thoughts.
Yes. Appreciate that. So thank you for listening. And like Deb just said, hope you enjoyed listening to this. And we hope that you'll tune into future podcasts as well from this group. Yeah, let us know if you have ideas or there's things you would like us to discuss. Just give us the comments, or if you happen to know us, you'll find us that way. And let us know, because there's so much that we could be talking about. And as we mentioned when we were opening the podcast, this is, discussions about what have we learned, what do we think, how do we approach things, not necessarily having the answers on everything.
Yeah, you may
But
have
discuss-
answers we don't, so we'd
Right.
love to hear that too. I'm always game to learn.
We're all part of that journey, that evolution of things. But as we call this the practical metaphysical journey, we're trying to come at it from the sense of more of the practical aspects of this, instead of things that are just maybe too outside, or on the fringe of things. So again, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.